Phil, thanks so much for doing this. Really appreciate it. Tell me about your business. Tell me where you guys are located, your website address, social media stuff, all that great stuff.
Sure. So I do TV is idotv.com, just like it sounds. And we're located all over the place. So we don't really have, that was kind of one of the interesting things when we established it. We got a number of folks who are part of it. And we're virtual. I mean, literally,
Yep.
we don't have a home office. I'm here in the New York area. Christine is a lead designer who does a lot of design work for us. She's in Nashville, Tennessee. We've got Caitlin is our wedding planner, and she's in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we've
Nice.
got folks in Maine and out west, and a lot of folks all over. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
been a
great.
fun piece of this because we literally started I Do TV. I'm going to say March 15 when lockdown really just started to happen in our area. So that's when we actually established the company. And so I haven't met most of the people who are working with us physically. So
Yeah.
it's a great business experiment in how to establish a virtual remote business from scratch.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's your experience, Phil? I mean, tell me a little bit about your experience.
Yeah, well, I'm a nerd, tech nerd, and I love the technology, but with a real heavy design background, so my background is in theater and television, and some very physical presentational arts, if you will, and then the computer stuff and all the sound and audio, and I see you're a musician there. I'm a musician as well,
Nice.
and I think that brings a certain engineering gene out of us, and the desire to sound good and look good and all of that. So I went to school at NYU for film and television. I also have a degree in audio engineering from Nashville, Tennessee, and so I've got a lot of sort of the media arts kind of backgrounds, and I've brought that over to the computer, and so that's very heavy in what we're doing here. So I do TV, just in a very basic sense, is we're a virtual wedding platform that takes Zoom weddings to the next level.
Okay.
And for folks who are really interested in having that really high-end look and feel to their weddings, we actually combine Zoom for the participants, for your guests, and then we actually have using broadcast technology. We bring in your wedding party, your clergy, an MC, and then of course the bride and groom, and we mix them all together in a really beautiful visual style. It makes it look like you're actually watching a bachelor TV show kind of a event, as opposed to bunch of little boxes and there's
Great.
Zoom and you just get what you get. So
So
that's what I Do TV is about.
all virtual, like there's no contact kind
We
of
can
thing?
do it. We can do it fully virtual, where everyone is in a remote location. We've actually done weddings where maybe there's a handful of people at the physical location, but hundreds of people viewing remotely. And we can really tailor it. That's part of what we do, is we're tailoring it to whatever the bride and groom are comfortable with. And there's sort of different formats where we'll actually maybe ship them a camera and a microphone, if it's just a simple setup, or in some cases we'll send technicians to a venue or a house to do a more technical production, still all socially distant and protected and all of that. But we can do that literally anywhere in the world, and send technicians to cover the event. So, maybe a bride and groom wants to do a destination wedding, but nobody really wants to get on a plane and stay in a resort and, get in a venue with lots and lots of folks right now. So we'll bring that destination wedding to people all over the world. But what we also do is we allow a certain level of interactivity. So it's not like you're just watching a broadcast replayed. Every single guest could technically interact with the bride and groom in this. And so we have a host that facilitates that. We have a lot of planned events throughout the wedding and the reception and so forth, and different ways to get people involved in that. So it's a real creative group of people we're working with to come up with these ideas. Yeah, so we're heavy into getting the group interactivity with the guests and making a really special, memorable event where, this is a tough sell. This is people actually committing to a large wedding during this. Most people, when they do decide to do like a Zoom wedding or an online wedding, it's kind of a consolation. Oh, we'll do this, but we'll do something bigger later, or just, it's just sort of kind of the equivalent of let's go to the courthouse and kind of get it done with. And what we're finding is there are more and more people who want to actually make something really special out of the event that they're having at this time.
A lot of couples I've been reading pretty much just they're done with the whole planning thing, right? Because they had already planned most everything, and then
it's
now
exhausting.
They got to postpone, and then it's just they're just done.
It's exhausting, and it's not just, it's like from a morale standpoint, it's a heavy thing emotionally.
Yeah, totally.
And so it's and I know we'll talk about business, but that's probably one of the biggest hurdles that we didn't necessarily anticipate going into this. That it's a tricky mental thing for most brides.
So what was the idea, Phil, behind this? Like, had you guys already been planning this, or?
Well, no. So like I said, I've been involved in virtual events, live events and virtual events for many years. And the technology to do that, television broadcast.
Natural fit, right? Just to kind of like,
well, so that piece was easy. My mother actually is a clergy who does she's retired and does lots and lots of weddings, and we started talking with her about all these, weddings that were going to get canceled. And in that process, we knew lots of, vendors, venues and entertainers and all sorts of folks involved in this industry. And it was really started from a conversation. It's a real shame that, it has to be just canceling or not. And I know Zoom quickly became sort of the go-to, but we, from a design standpoint and an event standpoint, I'm always like, we can make this so much better. People don't even understand how much better we can make this. Awesome. And so we got very excited very quickly and started collaborating with some folks and said, we just got to do this. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a natural, a combination of a bunch of folks' skill and talent. So it's still kind of, left to see how much traction we'll get in this.
Well, I think from an industry perspective, there are other people that are trying to make this happen. Now, it's probably going to be
and we've spoken with a lot of them. Not competition. It's just other people. A lot of people thinking about it. And God bless them. I hope we all do well, or supply some level of bride and grooms with weddings of their dreams. Would be great.
So what's the process then? Like, if someone says, "Hey, I want to do this with you guys," what does that look like? How do they go through it with you?
It's just like any other, wedding planning process. Although it's mostly over Zoom, we'll have a number of conversations with the couple to talk about what their dreams are, what they maybe had planned, and how we can maybe convert that into something very special and unique for their event. But basically it's conversations. It's just a lot of conversations and prep work and consultations. The first track is just sort of a design, a dream. Do you have and logistics? Do you have a venue? Do you have a date? Do you have, something that you can't change? Do you have a wedding planner? Most of the people we talk to, of course, already have a wedding planner, which is great. We want to work with those people. But then we talk about, well, what are areas where we can actually take this and make it even better than you have maybe imagined it could be. And so there's this arc, if you will, if you were to chart this enthusiasm with when they call us. It's tricky. When they call us, they're kind of at the bottom of their emotional. They've hit rock bottom.
Yeah. For sure.
They're like, oh my God, well, we got to do this. Let's call somebody. And they call us. And then immediately, once, after the first 3 minutes, and we can see it in their eyes that I'm going to embrace this, it starts to go, and they really get excited again. And it's fun again. And there's like this literal emotional bump where it's like but they have to hit that bottom first. And unfortunately, it's kind of like, it's a way of letting go of their expectations of, the storybook wedding.
Yeah.
But now we'll replace it with a new storybook.
There you go. So that's all we can do right now, honestly. I mean,
well, yeah, but we can do so much.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't have to be exactly what you had always dreamed about, right? So as long as you're past that point, now we can do some clever stuff, some really fun stuff.
Well, you said you had some examples you wanted to show me. So why don't you show me an example?
Oh, well, I was just going to show you it's a little sort of a teaser video. I'll click the screen share, and I'll roll this here. Let's see. This is the trailer video that we show. I'm going to just skip over to this part where it kind of shows the interface. You can kind of see what's going on there. I've just paused it here. Actually, it's what I'll do is I'll even back it up a little bit. Where you see it's not just Zoom. We can design the broadcast to have the wedding party across the top, the bride and groom featured large, and you'll see the different views here, where this is where the wedding party enters. There's a host that talks to your guests. This is where the bride might enter, and we go full screen on her, and then we have musical, accompaniment at that point, and then, the clergy, different configurations like you'd see on a typical television show. And then we bring the wedding party in to share in certain sections, and then we might even have toasts and presentations from folks all over the country. This is where they kiss the bride, and people can watch, and we get them involved, and they're giving toasts. We send out care packages where everybody can participate with the toasts, or with cutting the cake and having cupcakes and so forth. And so I'll stop the share there. But you get the sense of visually how it's very different. But then we also incorporate all sorts of choreographed moments where the audience can participate, maybe say a few words, and they can be spotlighted as well. And it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun, and we're getting some really good feedback.
So it's almost like a broadcast show on the fly.
It is. It's a live broadcast show, which we've done a lot of in my other work. We've done a lot of, but also it's heavily rehearsed. So the other difference that we do is if you've at this point, everybody's been in lots and lots of Zoom meetings, and
Yeah.
there's nothing worse than a Zoom meeting where the person who's speaking has bad audio, or their windows open behind them and you can't even see their face, and they got something going on in the background noise wise, and it's fatiguing and it's annoying and it's all of those things, and those things have to be weeded out, those technical issues. So we've got to make sure that the bride and groom and the clergy have really good audio. Believe it or not, audio is the number one thing that makes the difference between whether people perceive a production as good or bad.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not the video, it's the audio. And so we pay a lot of attention to that. We make sure they have good internet. We try to avoid Wi-Fi. There's all these other things that we do in advance. So it's not just by our coattails we're doing this. We have a lot of experience in making sure it looks really, really good. And then at the end of this, the couple has a great video that they can keep forever. We can stream it on YouTube or Instagram Live, and it lives for a long, long time.
Yeah, that's great. So what does something like this run a couple to get started? And
no, it's a good question.
Yeah.
So our service is definitely a premium service.
Sure.
Our base cost is $7,500. We think that's pretty reasonable for all the time and expertise and what goes into the making of this.
Yeah.
Because it's not just a Zoom wedding where you're doing it yourself.
Yeah.
We're spending a lot of time with the wedding party and the bride and groom, but also VIP guests, and making sure that on the day they can log in, their computer works, they can see, they can hear properly. There's so many, we've watched so many alternative wedding broadcasts where
Yeah.
you have the dear relative that you love so much, and they're like, is this thing on? Where do I push? And I can't see her, and and it's just awkward and unfortunate, and your heart breaks for those people, because that's who you're doing this for. You're trying to make it a memorable event for everybody.
Right.
So so we spend a lot of time doing that. It does cost more than a typical freebie Zoom thing, but
Sure.
if you've ever been a part of one of those meeting style weddings or seen one, it's you get what you pay for. Unfortunately, with those. But then that's our base cost, and then we do have a la carte fees for if we're sending a crew or additional equipment to a remote location or something like that.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it's a production, right? So it's not,
it's a video production. It's a live remote video production.
That's right. It's not a, oh, let me throw up a camera over here and let's go, right?
Right, exactly. I mean, it can be, and we can get pretty clever with, if someone has some basic skills and they just want to have a simple remote, we can make the most of those kind of situations. Yeah.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I think the key here is that your years of experience in broadcast TV and other things really translates well into this, particularly now, right?
Absolutely.
That things are pretty tight.
Right.
You can't have large gatherings. I doubt we'll probably do concerts for at least a year.
Right.
It's just crazy.
Live
right?
performance arts, unfortunately, I have a lot of friends in that business, and
It's changing.
I'm not gonna say any dates, but I think it's gonna be a while before we're sitting in a theater.
Well, I mean, I have a nephew that is in the entertainment industry as well, music, and they're totally out until, I mean, at least
And it's a
until
shame.
next year.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's a
crazy
real shame.
stuff.
Yeah.
Let's talk about business a little bit. And for you as a business leader and owner, what would you say has worked well for you over the past few years to make yourself successful?
Well, specifically as it relates to sort of COVID time is, keeping things lean. You know, it's nice to not specific to this business. I do TV. We don't own an office. We don't have a phone system. You know, everything's virtual, and
Yeah.
it's nice these days to have a sort of a pay-as-you-go plan for email services and
Yep.
you know all sorts of marketing tools and things that you might use. And I think that's a, you know, in the past where we may have invested in, you know, physical space or, you know, a lot of employees that may not have been fully loaded with time. You know, we're working with a lot of contract labor at this point. We're trying to, you know, employ as many people as we can, you know,
For sure.
as much as the business will handle, but, you know, not making long-term commitments. Who knows? And it's kind of easy to do under the, you know, excuse of COVID.
Sure.
But I
Agreed.
think going forward, after COVID, those are all going to be great lessons to try to just keep things really, really lean. And I think that's going to be kind of almost too obvious. Like everybody gets that now, you know, after
Yeah.
having, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a business leader, having survived, if you've survived this, that's going to be ingrained into you.
Yeah. Being
Just
lean.
like, you know, if you think back during the Depression, you knew people who survived during the Depression. The rest of their lives was lived. You know, they were frugal.
Yep.
You know, and I think we'll have the same sort of, you know, resonant tendencies.
Yeah, agreed. What would you say have been like your biggest business challenge over the past, even the 4 months, 5 months we've been dealing with this?
Well, specifically with I Do TV, I think the business challenge is the message, getting the message out and encouraging people to think about a production where they're going to spend some money and spend some time and mostly spend some emotional currency
Hmm.
on a bigger a wedding. That's been a really big challenge for us, and it just takes a lot of conversations. And we talk with a lot of people who we don't end up, you know, working with,
Sure.
and I don't think it's they don't like us. I think it's just hard for them to get their head around it.
Yeah. Do you
And
think that it's hard for them to get their head wrapped around a TV level production
yeah,
of an event that doesn't, I mean, that typically doesn't translate well to that arena unless
oh yeah,
you've rehearsed it over, you know what I mean? Like a lot of these
yeah,
productions you see on TV are all pre-done, you know,
right,
etc.
right.
So
Yeah, I think you know we're going into a new era from a viewer standpoint of sort of what's typical. I think, you know, we're seeing all the late night hosts do it from their home.
yeah,
Every news, you know, program, people are doing it from their home, and you know, and there's a certain I think there's a genuineness to that.
yeah,
And I
agreed.
think this generation, the younger generation especially, embraces this idea of being genuine and as opposed to overproduced and over slick.
Agreed.
Now, that said, you want your wedding to be special.
Yeah.
So you don't want a raw, you know, do it yourself or look. Unfortunately, that's what you get with most Zoom weddings where we don't even know who's going to push the button. We haven't even talked about that, and we're, you know, staying there all dressed up.
Hmm.
So there needs to be some level, if a couple wants to really do this, of thought and rehearsal, and but at the same time, so it's a fine balance
Yeah.
of let's don't spend too much, but at the same time, you know, if we want to kind of embrace this and have fun with it and make it
Mhm.
special, we can.
Yeah. Yeah. The value proposition is difficult, right? Especially when
Right.
it's not tangible.
Ex- exactly right.
Yeah.
And we have some bride and grooms who get it. They just get it,
Yeah.
and it's just like those are
No
fun
brainer.
because but I think that's true in all industries. You have
Absolutely.
clients who get what you do and enjoy it and embrace it, and you love working with them. I don't want to talk anybody into using us.
Yeah.
If they want to have fun, they want to be a TV star and kind of ham it up a little bit,
Yeah.
we're we're the ones for you. But
I totally get that. That's probably one of my biggest issues is that people that get data and information and understand how they need it and why they need it, I don't ever have to do anything.
right, they're like, give me more. How can we,
yeah, exactly.
how can we do this?
This industry is such a creative industry that it's difficult to get a creative to wrap their head around why they need data to help them grow their business, right? So, or even run their business day to day, why they need data, right? So that part has always been a challenge for me. So I totally get that. Yeah.
Right.
What would you, if you had to go back, Phil, 5 years ago, what would you go back and tell yourself?
Buy Apple stock.
Right?
Right. And then I'd be done. We wouldn't be having this
We wouldn't be
conversation.
having this conversation. We wouldn't need to do anything.
Boy, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question other than I guess, one of the things I've been fortunate, we talked with a lot of people especially one of the things I like about sort of COVID and this whole, every day we're lining up 3 or 4 Zoom calls, face-to-face calls with independent wedding planners, venue owners, caterers, people outside of the wedding industry. We talk with a lot of corporate communications people and AV technicians. Just chatting. What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And what I really admire and kind of, romantically, wistfully kind of, this guy's got it, is the people who have just followed their dreams and stuck to it and made it work in a business sense. It touches me, especially the small guys, I know a lot of people. I mean, we all know a lot of people who've been very, very successful with very large companies. But it's rare to find one of those people who are still doing the thing they loved. And there was a great book. I forget the author's name. The E-Myth that was written a number of years ago about the lady that makes the pies, and now she's a big franchisee, but she doesn't make pies anymore. Mm-hmm. And so my inspiration is the guy or the gal who's still doing that thing that they love doing. Maybe they didn't make as much money as they could have as if they sold out, but they're still doing that thing. And so I don't know, if I went back 5 years, would I tell myself to keep doing that? I'm not sure. That's a really, really, really hard thing to consciously kind of stick with.
Yeah.
But definitely it's inspirational for me to kind of see that when that happens.
It's true. I mean, like looking at people and seeing how they've taken their ideas and business and grown it to the next level, still being involved, still enjoying doing it day after day is always motivating. And it's really not always about the money. I mean, honestly, if you can just build a sustainable business where you can make a living off of it and stay sustainable,
right,
and be able to do what you love and take care of your family and whatever else, and that's the key, I think.
What you're doing with your website, and I know a lot of folks who are doing, journalist or podcaster or whatever you want to call it. They're kind of built their own media center and sort of thought, knowledge, leadership. That's a great way. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that post-COVID. There's going to be a lot of people who are reinventing their life and their business and what they're doing. And I'm hopeful about that as an outcome of all of this. Yeah,
agreed. Phil, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we're done. Okay.
Have a great weekend.
We can go for a couple of hours if you want to. No, but appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Good luck with you on your stuff. And thanks for having me a part of this.
Really appreciate it.